So I do want to talk about one thing that I guess I wasn't expecting it to be at this level, but The Mandalorian and Grogu is a movie?
This is a real thing. This is
that?
a real thing that's going to happen.
Did you see what I said? You probably didn't.
I watched
because
it.
of your 65 hours.
That was somebody's phone recording what was on a TV.
Recording what was at D23. Yes. That was at D23. So the point is,
Is D23 some type of con?
Yes, D23 is where they announce all the stuff that Disney.
Okay,
is putting out.
sure. So it's basically Disney's Comic-Con.
Correct.
Okay.
So D23 put out this trailer, this teaser for The Mandalorian and Grogu. At the end it said 2025, but the reality is the video said 2025, but the video itself showed 2026. So we're not going to see this for another year and a half ish.
2 years.
Okay.
But it's basically the Mandalorian and Grogu's adventure, like them, in a feature film, not a show. From what I'm getting from that.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we saw the whole thing where they said Mandalorian and Grogu, and I was like,
I want to. How many?
I thought we were
plushies
moving
did that
on from
little
this.
green thing sell? Like
I don't know.
seriously.
A ton.
Unbelievable. Okay, so
I don't even care about it.
They just want money.
I don't care about it either. I could care less.
Well, here's what Disney is doing.
Skeleton Crew?
No. Did you hear that because we talked about, Jonathan Majors, like his stuff is coming to an end?
Yeah.
Sure.
He wants to come back, and Disney is like, no.
Uh-huh.
Not happening.
Mm-hmm.
Ever.
Yeah.
Kevin Feige, there's I said you as an article, Kevin Feige is going, not ever again. Never again.
No.
We're not having it.
No.
So why? They did it for
I read the
Robert Downey.
They did what for Robert Downey Jr.?
That's a very different situation. They never fired Robert Downey Jr.
His talent agent, the talent agency that sponsored Robert Downey Jr. didn't drop him. This was a completely separate thing. Like his agency, Jonathan Majors' agency dropped him as a client because he was I think one of the charges he was found guilty on for like Well, no, not just the allegations. It was one of the assault charges actually stuck, and he was found guilty of that.
Yeah, but there's rumors that he's getting married to this woman now.
He's getting married to a different woman.
Oh, is it different? I heard it was the same woman.
It's a different woman. It's a different woman that he's getting married to. Like a lot of throughout the lawsuit, a lot of it didn't stick. But like from what I gather, it was like a back and forth abusive relationship that both of them kind of played a hand in. And he's the one that got slapped with some charges, and they found him guilty. I don't. That's a different thing.
What I mean by the deal with Robert Downey Jr. was in prison for some time,
long before Iron Man.
Yeah, way before
I know
that.
it was way before Iron Man. But what I'm trying to say is he still had a record.
Sure.
And when he came out, somebody gave him the opportunity.
How many years later?
That's very different.
This was a lot of years removed. Robert Downey Jr. was out of the public eye for a good decade or more, where he didn't do anything. Nobody wanted anything to do with him, and then finally
he did Ally McBeal, and then there was like 10 years between that and then Iron Man, and we were like, whoa, he's back.
There was like a thing. There was like a thing where he like seriously rehabbed his career and like took care of himself.
Right, but
everybody knew Robert Downey Jr. as like, here's a drug addict.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say is
who used to act.
His stuff was way more public than Jonathan Majors.
I don't think
if you talk to people back in 2007, they knew what was going on with Robert Downey Jr. more than if you talk to your average moviegoer today about Jonathan Majors.
Do you know why? Saturation. Back then, people were not on the internet like they were now. There is so much more news now about every single celebrity and cancel culture and all that baloney. But Robert Downey Jr. was like slammed for a solid decade. And there were not many other celebrities slammed back then.
Yeah, but there's not many celebrities now going through trials where they're being canceled from a show and then not allowed back on?
Yeah, there are.
Yeah, there
Name
are.
one. Who?
Gina Carano, Mandalorian.
But she wasn't through a trial. She said something.
She
and then
said
Disney
stupid
went,
things. She said
I don't
said
like
stupid
that.
things.
She's done.
Yeah, that was
That's
different. That was
But
different.
still,
I would say
No.
I would say a more direct example is probably something like Kiefer Sutherland. You know, how many drunken escapades do we watch that guy go through? How many days in a row do we see that guy on TMZ? And 24 was at one point canceled, but then things happened and it came back, so it was kind of up in the air. Like, he went through it, he came back on the other side of that thing. I
because
feel like
they gave him a chance.
even more of a direct example, and something that's still happening right now, Louis C.K. That dude's done. That dude ain't coming back anytime soon.
You know, it
unless
really
he goes
stinks
on a
because
massive apology tour.
It really stinks because he was so talented. So talented.
The point
He's up there. He was like the white Dave Chappelle. I'm sorry.
the point I'm trying to make. I wouldn't even say he's the white Dave Chappelle. I would say he's a more modern Carlin than a white Dave Chappelle. But the point I'm trying to make is that, like, there are some cases where these people bring it on themselves. Louis C.K. brought it on himself. Jonathan Majors being in that relationship for as long as he was, the back and forth, the abuse allegations, how it was violent on both ends. I'm not gonna fault his talent agency for dropping him. I'm not gonna fault Disney either, because he brought it on himself. He's a grown adult. He should have known better. And you should know that when you're in these positions, you have a public image to uphold. Whether you agree with it or not, people with money do. Like, that's all they're thinking about. But and to Lee's point as well, if these things happened back in the 80s, you would never hear about it. You would never hear a word about it. It would stay secret. It would not, leak out of whatever hotel room all this stuff happened in. So,
yeah, that's why when something back then came out, it was a big deal.
Do I think this is? Do I believe Kevin Feige when he says this is the end for Jonathan Majors?
In Disney, I think it is.
I don't. I don't think I'll say that. Time heals all wounds. So you don't know what could happen. I mean, they could very much be in a position where it's like, okay, Jonathan Majors did some stupid things. He was found guilty in a court of law. Let's distance ourselves for a little while. Oh, look, Robert Downey Jr.'s back. You don't know what's going to happen in a few years. They could easily just turn around in a few years and be like, okay, time has passed. Everybody's cool. Everybody's calmed down. You're sorry. She's sorry. Everybody's sorry. Okay, let's try something again. You don't know. Something like that could happen. I hope things like that do happen for a lot of these people, because everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody does a dumb thing. Everybody says a dumb thing, and I think everybody deserves a second chance. So you don't know. But for like the time being, like right now, for what this is, you kind of gotta
distance yourself
a little bit. And
that's the thing.
I'm with you on that. I'm not for cancel culture. I hate it. Distancing for a little while, I don't think I have that much of an issue with.
And neither do I. But
Okay.
I would keep that. I would say, you know what? If I was Kevin Feige, I would say, you know what? To my team, we're not going to let Jonathan Majors back on for a while. We're not going to make it public. We're not going to make it a big deal.
And that might be an internal discussion, but we just don't hear about it because we're not in those rooms.
Right, but when you have the news coming out saying Kevin Feige said he's not coming back, and then if he brings it back, that the focus is no longer on what Jonathan Majors did. The focus is now on the fact that Kevin Feige is just being closed-minded to anything ever. That's the impression that it gives versus, you know what? Something happened right now. We don't know what time's going to tell us in the future. As of right now, though, the character of Kang the Conqueror is just being put on hold. Mm-hmm. We'll see where it happens from here. And then if it never happens, fine. If it does happen, at least it's open to it. But to sit there and say, as a matter of fact, this is not happening ever again.
Sure.
You kind of you shoehorn yourself into a corner that you really can't do much about it at that point, because for him to now come out and say, you know what, let's bring him back in. Now Kevin Feige needs to go on an apology tour about saying what he said about Jonathan Majors. because he did say that.
He didn't really say anything out of character, though. He just said we're done. It's not like you badmouth them.
No. He just said that we're done and he's never coming back.
The never coming back thing. The never coming back thing. Yeah. He would have to. He would have to say something about that. He would have to backpedal that.
Right, and that. I had a friend once tell me, don't say the first thing that comes to mind. Say the third thing that comes to your mind. Kind of, that first thing comes to your mind, process it for a moment. The second thing, kind of process it a little bit more. That third thing, say that.
Yeah, sure.
But
yeah,
we'll see.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Watch him pop up in DC.
Oh, jeez.
That would, you know what? If I would not, it could happen. It could happen. This might, this might be a blessing in disguise. Maybe this will be halfway decent for his career. He goes away for a little while. He gets married, does a family thing for a little while, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden he's somewhere else doing something completely different. So maybe it's a light at the end of the tunnel type thing. So